I'm back here on the Ford. I got a picture from a guy about how these tailgates are supposed to close. It's got a flat metal bar here that goes across that this hooks into, and then the latches. So I'm just looking at it here. This bottom piece is pretty much torn out, so this needs to be cleaned up and welded. I need to get rid of this motor, but till I get it lifted out of here, I'm going to try to do some of the metal work. But this is obviously torn out, so I'm going to try to clean that up and weld it. I ought to take the gate off completely. Try to do it that way, or anyway, I got to clean a lot of this rust and stuff off of here before I can do anything. So that's the plan today. Try to get this gate straight and weld it back up and fabricate me some hooks here for the chain. First thing I did was trying to clean it up real good where I can weld to it. And I've got it C-clamped down there to where it's supposed to go. I'm gonna try to weld this bed right here, and the other one, which looks still pretty good, it's straight across and looks like it was welded onto the bed. So that's my first goal, is try to weld the inside of that, tack it together, and I'll try to tack that sheet metal all the way across there, and then I'll pound it out to where it's a little closer to round. I probably ought to machine a spacer or something to fit in there, but for now I'm just trying to get that broken bed back together. I kind of tack welded it good into the bed here, or the gate. I spot welded it right here, and I clamped this all down. So that's pretty much about as good as I can get it. I'm just going to go ahead and try to weld up this hole and crack first, and then I'll spot weld it across there. You can probably see some of this. First thing is fill that hole up in the back and get that all solid where it won't tear out. There's the gap welded. Now I'm just going to try to weld this lip. But my wire stuck or ran out. I'm out of wire. Well, we're load the welder and try it again. And that's what I got there so far. Got about an inch left. I think I have some 30 thousandths rod. I know I have some 35 I bought. So we'll see what I can do about changing that roll in the welder. Again, boring, but I'll just speed it up. Alright, I left quite a bit of weld on there. I'm not trying to make this perfect by any means, and I want to leave enough strength on there so it looks pretty good. Now I'm going to get a flapper disc and clean it up a little more, and then I'll shoot some primer on it. Alright, that's cleaned up pretty good. Smooth, fairly smooth. I say I'm not trying to do anything great here. I'm just making sure that it's welded good and strong. Looks like I could probably clean that corner up a little bit more. Maybe put another piece of weld in there. Alright, I just shot a little rust primer in there. Not perfect by any means, but I was thinking about this roof up here. I'm trying to get my light, but you can see it's pretty well chewed up right here in the seam. And my first thought was maybe I could just weld that rather than trying to fix something. It looks like it's gonna rust it through. Good hole right there. Well, it looks like it's got a big old dent in the top too. I gotta knock that out, but I'm gonna try just to weld a little spot in here and see what kind of results I have. Alright, cleaned that up. Look like I got pretty good bare metal there. I'm just going to try to do a couple inches here, spot welding. We get over here to where it's really rusted. I can cut that out and put a little patch in it. I just want to see what it looks like, see if it's going to warp that roof or what. Well, there it is ground down. I was just trying to spot weld it. I can do a little better job of that, but it's burning through the metal every once in a while. And but I think to stop that rust, that's what I really need to do. It needs to be welded up. It doesn't have to be flushed like right here, good metal. And then fill this with fiberglass. But it's going to be a lot of work try to do this thing all the way around this good. I'll throw a little primer on it and see what that looks like. Well, it don't look bad. That whole section there would have to be covered to make it right. Probably what I'll do is just I'll do another little 3 or 4 inches here and try to weld it up in there as good as I can. not worry about filling it flush up and sanding it like this, but leave a little holes in there so the fiberglass will fit in it. But I think that's the way to go, because this is where water's going to run down. If there's any pinholes or anything in there, it'll just rust out again. So at least if I seal it good on the outside, it won't. So this is not a how-to by any means. Probably guys that do these trucks all the time got a good idea how to do it, but I don't. It's the first one I did. But I think that's probably what I'm going to do, is clean this up real good. Put a little light weld all the way around in there, and then fill it with fiberglass. Back here on the tailgate, this looks pretty good. Primer's dry. It should, how about that? Closes good right into that rubber strap. So now, boy, this whole section right here has been beat in. I probably ought to cut that out and straighten it. This one's alright. It's broke loose there on the gate. Looks like it's been crushed here on top. Yeah, this one's kind of broke loose as well. So I need to kind of sort all that out. See if I can get something in there and get that dent out. Get the sheet metal pretty straight before I try to make a bracket for it. This one needs to be cleaned up and welded. Looks like the gate's been bent there. And the inside's alright. Looks like it's just the outside. But that's a pretty good kink. And there's really rusted loose there too. I guess I could try to find out where this is spot welded, take it off and beat it out. This one's pretty straight on the bottom, pretty bad on top. Well, like always, a lot more work than I wanted to do. But this whole bed looks like it's been bent. It's not straight at all. So probably I ought to see what I could do about taking this bed off of here. What I decided to do with this crushed piece here, the bed itself is pretty straight, so I'm going to cut this about right here somewhere, down where it's pretty good, and down the side, and right on the edge there. I'm just going to take that piece out, straighten it up, and I should be able to knock out any crookedness in the bed once that brace is cut, and just weld that back in and grind it. So I think that's probably the best way to go about that. I got the piece cut out, bent straight, tack welded in. I'll set you up here with the camera. And we'll just try to weld that thing slow. Try not to get it too hot and warp it. But I got all the edges flush. Flush here, flush there. This one might have to go in a little bit, but it can be ground off, so I'm just going to try to start tacking it. Do one corner at a time so it doesn't walk on me. Getting quite a bit of weld build up on it. Probably turn my feed down a little bit. Probably should use my air to cool it. If I could find my spray gun. That's pretty cool. We'll work on the rest of this. Check that edge to make sure it's straight. Now, looks like it needs to go in right in the middle there a little. That's a little better. Might be a little low. We can deal with that. pretty good. Not a lot of grinding to do. Now I'll work on getting this inside edge here straight. Looks like when I bent it straight, left a pretty good gap in there. So we'll just clean that up, and I got that pretty straight. And now we'll just start welding up this big gap in the back. Good. Now get the grinder and grind it off. See what kind of result we got. Well, we'll get old Big Bertha out for this one. Well, that one will wear you out. Got most of it knocked down. Now I can get in there with a smaller grinder and clean it up a little. To fill. Now I'll re-weld those, grind it off again, and we should good to go. Now there we go. Not the nicest job, but it's that big crush is gone, most of it anyway. Looks like it kind of caved itself back in a little when I was welding on it, but I'm not really concerned about that. I'd rather have it low than high. At least it's good enough to throw a little Bondo on it. I'll hit it with primer and see what it looks like. That don't look too bad. Look like I got some breakout in here. Probably just clean that up, clamp it, and weld it. And it looks like that there's kind of a flat top across there. This all kind of trashed. I'm going to try to clean this up and just weld it, and then I'll work on beating this top out, straightening it. Kind of useless to try to do that while it's all broke loose. First thing to get it strong, I suppose. A little work here on the top and the bottom. This grinder's kind of wore me out, so if I can get these two pieces done, I'll call it a day. Well, it turned out the best way to fix that was heat that up and straighten it, and then clamp it into the top rail there. I've got it clamped pretty good. I'm going to try to weld it up in there and see what happens. Now that's pretty much all welded up and ground off. The bed's still a little crooked. Looks like this part here's bent in a little, causing it to hit. But I still got to do a little work on that. But this is pretty strong now. Welded into the rack, or into the tube part, and I'll get this where it closes good, then I can work on how it latches. Well, continuing on here, I did this yesterday. That's a little crooked, but it's a lot better than it was. But I got this another bed. Got the Ford script in the middle. Don't know what it's out of. It's an earlier bed. It's probably good shape for somebody. It's not really rusted up too bad, but it's got these two chain hook things on it, and it looks to me like it's gonna fit right in there. And these are in pretty good shape. Rather than me trying to fabricate one, I think I can just cut the rivets out of that and see if they'll work. I think they will. Well, I got my little latches cut out of there. They go approximately like that. This will latch down like this, and then this end goes through it here somewhere. So that looks pretty good. The other one's about the same. I'll have to figure out some way to weld them in there, but I think that's the right idea. I'll have to try to clean this up so I can weld it, and it's not the right thing, but it is genuine Ford parts. So figure out a little geometry and clean it, tack weld it, and see what it looks like. Well, one of the first things is to tack up this cut I made here on the inside and grind it down. then I'll worry about getting it flush into this mounting corner. So we'll just weld that up. Welded, ground that off. I didn't do a great job, but it's really tough to actually grind down in there. The grinder wants to walk off the bead. But anyway, that's cleaned up and some primer shot in it. I probably ought to do the same to this one over here. That's my problem when I start working on these things. I'll do something that looks pretty good, and I'll go to the next little area, and first thing you know, I'm doing the whole car in show paint. I'm going to try to avoid that on this one. Try to just to get the main operational things done. This tailgate, and it's up on the roof. It's got a big dent. I have to fix that. I think I'll weld that top part. Haven't really looked at the bed yet, but I got a feeling I'll probably just clean this out and prime it. I might put some plywood in it. I don't know. I may weld a little on it. Like I said, start messing with one thing and do the whole thing. I got a big dent in the door there. It needs to be fixed. A couple crunches there in fender. I'm going to do just hopefully just a rough body work and clean it. You know, there was so much stuff come off these windows. This paint might not look too terribly bad. Good enough for a rat rod probably. And clean up the dash and those seats inside. Put some new carpet in it so it'll look nice, and just get rid of it. Yeah, I got that one all done, and it's wrong. So I started on this other one to get it right, and this is the way it's supposed to go. I have to flatten that, bring it way out. Then this hooks around it like this, and then this pin goes through there, which locks it in. Yeah, that is right like that. I found a picture on the internet. So I can't use a 90-degree thing here. So I just cut the 90 off of that, held it up there, tacked it in, put me a little tit right there for it to hold on, and that's where it has to go. I'm probably going to have to weld that hole up, drill it out a little. Might have to modify that a little bit, but that's where it has to go, like that, to lock the gate. You can put it in here, and that would lock it, but it's not a tight lock. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed. It needs to go in there like that, so it's tight. Anyway, that's right now. I kind of filled it up there on top. I'll see if I can drive another piece of metal in there and weld this up a little bit on the bottom, because it's just tacked onto the little piece of tin and it ain't gonna hold worth a damn. Zooming in, not doing a lot of good, but there's just a big hole in there. So I have to figure out some way of getting something in there and weld it more solid, and then I'll work on the geometry of how it latches later. And I welded a good weld right up there where I need to grind it off. After quite a bit of cutting and grinding, and I got this to where it's a latch. Put the latch in it and it'll tighten it down, and my lock will go through it. So I need to basically work on how that hinge catches in there, but that's basically the way it is supposed to go. And this one here, even though it's secure, can't really do it with one hand. You know, it's not right. This has got to go all the way down to there. So anyway, this is the right way that it's got to go. That way it'll latch in and hold pretty tight. I still have to modify that quite a bit, but at least I'm on the right road. Alright, that's done. Hook it right there in my little groove. Snap it in. My little hook will go in it. And it's solid as you're gonna get. Ain't going nowhere. And it's fairly easy to get out. So I'm going to call that good for now. I'm going to polish it up a little bit and prime it. I'm going to call that quits for today.